Okay, guys, I was running into issues with the lighting, so I hope you can. This is the setup as it is. The lesson in this is a lesson in everything I do. The lesson in this setup, however strange it may be, is that you should always just do the thing you need to do, regardless of whatever your reason is for not doing it. Like, I'm like, oh, the lighting sucks. You just not do it. Find a way. Always find a way. Be the one who finds a way. Winners find a way, losers find an excuse. So here goes the video. The 4 doctors. 4 doctors. Now, this concept of the 4 doctors was introduced to me by Paul Chek and was introduced to him by the ancient Romans. And the ancient Romans had this, and ancient Greeks had this concept of 3 doctors. They called those doctors happy, quiet, and diet. And when Paul Chek found these out, he was like, well, 3 doctors is good. 3 doctors does cover a lot of human experience. What makes you happy? What quiet allows you to rejuvenate yourself? Diet replenishes you, but there's something missing because this isn't complete. And then Paul Chek realized that the Romans and the Greeks were very active. They're not of a sedentary society. So he knew that there were really 4 doctors, even though all the Greeks and the Romans implicitly knew one of them. So they didn't name him. Movement. And these are the things that a person ultimately needs to be healthy and balanced. You need something that makes you happy. You need like a vision for happiness. We can get into this in a great detail. You need a vision for happiness, a vision, a clear understanding of what makes you happy in life, where you're going, how that's going to affect your happiness, how your current life is contributing to your happiness. Do you have a lot of things that make you happy? Do you have relationships that make you happy? Are your relationships making you happy? Do you have activities and hobbies you like? Does your work make you happy? Do you rely on drugs and alcohol for your happiness? Do you rely on entertainment for your happiness? How much do you rely on those things for your happiness versus how much do you get them from relationships, from breathing, from meaningful work that you do in their life and contribute to the world? Dr. Happy. I'm actually going to write doctor in front of all of them so we can really think about them as doctors. So we have Dr. Happy, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Diet, and Dr. Movement. So happy, very important. I mean, if you get all your happiness from drugs and alcohol and suboptimal methods of getting happiness, then you won't be able to give those things up because you can't give up your main source of happiness. You can't convince someone to give up the only thing that makes them happy, even if that's a drug or a toxic relationship or a destructive behavior pattern or anything. You cannot convince someone to give up the major source of their happiness. So oftentimes when making changes in our lives, if things preventing us from making those changes are making us happy, or the only things that are making us happy, oftentimes, and I'd say the only way to move forward is to find other things that also make us happy and start doing those things. And as we do more and more of the things that make us happy, we'll crave the things that are bad for us less because we'll be getting our happiness from other sources. Very deep concept I'll be going into. I'll make a whole video on Dr. Happy. Dr. Quiet. Dr. Quiet, sleep, meditation, journaling, alone time, time where you're not busying yourself with the world. All these things are Dr. Quiet. Dr. Quiet is a yin force. So we can think of Dr. Happy and Dr. Movement as yang forces on this, and we can think of Dr. Diet and Dr. Quiet as the yin forces, the nourishing forces. Though either of these could be made yin or yang in interesting ways. We'll get into all this stuff later. It's gonna be a hell of a course. So, Dr. Quiet. Inadequacies in Dr. Quiet will lead to adrenal fatigue, adrenal problems, anxiety, stress, needing to overeat or tendency to overeat, tendency to undereat. It can lead to a lot of dysfunctions. The absence of Dr. Quiet, the absence of recovering, the absence of going into ourselves, doing shadow work, journaling, reflecting, taking time apart from the world. Instead of being always engaging in the world, being apart from it. So, and really good being with ourselves, allowing quiet, even quiet of thoughts, but quiet to even hear your own thoughts. There's many levels to quiet. You can have quiet as in time alone with you and your partner, where you sit down, you have very intimate, maybe quiet, maybe not so quiet, but maybe it's quiet because there's no one interfering. You have an intimate conversation with someone you love and care about. It can be Dr. Quiet. It can also be Dr. Happiness. If you're walking, it's Dr. Movement. If you walk to a place and get food, it's Dr. Diet. But it's a great thing to do. Find someone you love and have a conversation with them through a quiet wood to a place to get something to eat. But if it's good food and it's a good wood, and get all your 4 doctors in. It could be one of the best things you ever did. So Dr. Quiet, though, it's that separation, that removal, so you can focus and you can allow yourself to be rejuvenated. Dr. Diet is what you eat, what you put into your body. Dr. Diet is also what you everything you consume. So media, what you watch, what you like, put your attention on, what you give your attention to. But really, let's just say what you watch, what websites you go to, what apps you spend your time on, what books you read, what movies you watch, what comics you listen to, what people you listen to. And then now you get into what environments you've been spending time, like what is your habit of diets, your dietary habits, or your habit of diet of habits. You have dietary habits, which are the habits governing how you eat. You also have a diet of habits, which are the habits you indulge in throughout the day. But it's so fascinating how meta this gets. I'm not even trying to do this. It just keeps coming up because it's all connected, but it's connected scientifically, so you can show it all. But really, I'm gonna stick on. I'm very ADHD, if you can't tell. It's a good thing, though. It brings verve and vitality to everything I do, and it lets me consider many, many things at once. So, Dr. Diet, though, what foods you eat, what the water you consume, electrolytes in the water, toxins in the water, the air you breathe, how you breathe air. Do you take nice, slow, deep, relaxed inhales and exhales, or you just shallow breathing? That's diet, and that's how you're consuming oxygen, which is the most important thing that you need. You need oxygen more than water, you need oxygen more than food, you need oxygen more than shelter. And yet so few people pay attention to the mechanism of delivery for oxygen. We'll be going into that in great detail. As Ralph Smart says, breathing in that good ass prana, baby. So, Dr. Diet, everything you consume, but it's only a fourth of the entire picture. I mean, still have Dr. Happy and Dr. Quiet. Lots of people who have immaculate diets, and they're like, why is everything fucked up? It's like, well, it's 4 of them. So Dr. Movement, the last, Dr. Movement is movement, activity. It's everything you're doing. And this can include the actual activities that consist of your job and your work, your vocation, which could technically your job and your vocation, your work, career are under Dr. Happy as well. But if they prevent you from getting quiet or they give you ample access to quiet, they can also be part of this. And so they're all interconnected, but the little actions you're actually doing throughout the day fall under movement. For instance, whenever I have to do a lot of busy paperwork or just monotonous stuff that's not fun and enjoyable for my business, I go to a park. I go walk to a park, and then I go walk through the park, and I go to a park bench or a table, and I sit down and I do the work, and then I walk back. And it's a beautiful view. I'm doing the work outside. I'm breathing in good air. I'm in a great environment. And it changes the nature of the task. I'm still doing the same task. I mean, the work's getting done, same work, but the actual task itself has now changed. So now the task is much more enjoyable. And whereas before, I would be trapped in my office, just being like, oh, I feel like a prisoner in here. Now I'm outside. I'm enjoying myself. I could go anywhere in the world. I could go work wherever I want. It's very, very enjoyable. So that's in movement. I mean, move to a location. So movement, it's kind of meta. I mean, it's not just exercise. It's not just like how much do you bench press is movement. Movement is everything you're doing with your body throughout the day. Like when I watch my baby daughter learning to walk and move, like every movement she does builds on everything else. I'll do entire videos on the science of child movement. I find it so fascinating. I've learned so much watching my daughter move and learn and interact, but movement, very, very complicated. Like, how do you move? It's not just exercise, it's walking. Do you walk? Is your posture good? How do you move? Do you move frequently? When you move, do you move too much? Do you do too much strenuous exercise and overtax yourself? Do you do enough restorative and recovery exercise? I'm a big, huge, massive proponent of walking. Ironies that exist in the world: weak to warrior, strong, strength, killer, jujitsu, all these things. And then it's like, what's your favorite form of exercise? Walking. But really though, really, you ever fight someone who walks all the time? Dude's got endurance for days. Those legs ain't ever given out. Boxing someone and they have really, really strong legs that never give out. Grappling, walking. It's from walking. It's really powerful, and it's not taxing on the body. It's really low impact. You could walk like 5 hours a day, every day, and you wouldn't overtrain. You get a tremendous benefit from doing that. You get a tremendous benefit from doing that, especially if you go walk on trails in the woods over on even ground, going up and down hills, your knees getting stimulated in all these different ways, your hips are opening up. Like, do not underestimate walking. I think walking is the number one thing to do if you want a long life where you feel good. Like, walk. Really important. Most of what we do in life is walking. Even right now, as I'm doing this, I'm standing and this is a version of walking, kind of. Really fucking important. It's really important. I'm going to make entire videos on that, but you cannot overstate. Just walk. Like, everyone should be walking at least an hour a day. Throw on a podcast, throw on an audiobook, walk. Enjoy the beautiful scenery around you, get under the sky, breathe in the fresh air, get your legs moving, get your heart pumping. It's good for your posture, it's good for your hips, it's good for everything. And it's easily accessible. It makes your brain work better. Like, you want bang for your buck. You want fat loss, like, walk. Just really amazing. Really incredible. Walking now. But yeah, talking about Dr. Movement. So Dr. Movement is all the movements that you're doing. This is your lifting routine, your walking routine, stretching, the activities you do. So these things together, Dr. Happy, Dr. Quiet, Dr. Diet, and Dr. Movement, are the 4 principles that govern health and provide health. These 4 principles are satisfied for archetypes, for quadrants, for aspects, then the human being is healthy. But if there's an imbalance in these, any of these, I mean, there are people who have, but their head is not quiet on the inside because they have trauma and the traumatic voices are shouting and they can't sleep and their hormones are fucked up and their health is shit because they have unresolved trauma. They have no Dr. Quiet, and that's impinging on Dr. Happy. A lot of people only focus on these 2, Dr. Diet and Dr. Movement, but Dr. Happy, Dr. Quiet, it's very important. It's the other So it's the non-physical aspects. I mean, it's very fascinating how you can, and I'll probably pontificate and philosophize about this a lot, but you have diet and movement, which are physical, happy and quiet, which are non-physical, happy and movement, which are yang, quiet and diet, which are yin. Some sense these are it's activity, materials, thoughts, understanding of self. I mean, there's probably many levels which these play out, but this video is meant to introduce you to the 4 doctors. Now I've introduced you to the 4 doctors. Move on to the next video.